Hey, everybody, welcome to GHTR, the Nation's Podcast Radio, and GHT Underground. And today I have a very special guest who's going to be talking to me about some really cool things. And so the man I have with me, his name is Gordon Anderson, and it's T.Gordon Anderson. And he has a long list of everything. So how you doing there, buddy?
Doing pretty good. It's taken us a while to get this all set up. Now we have to focus on saying the right words.
You're fine.
And
You're fine.
like I say, you asked me if I'm ready. Yes, I've been waiting since 1991 to play this instrument to the world.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about it, and go ahead and why don't you play us a tune?
This is my serial number 001 Ghtr. It's an archtop sitar that basically took the sitar out of the horse and buggy days up into the space age, made with like aircraft aluminum and graphite and stuff like that, but carved in the old world archtop style. Took 3 months to build, has 7 strings on the top, 12 on the bottom. 19 tuners all in this one block here.
How the heck? How did you do that?
It was literally while I was drawing the blueprints to go in a machine shop and make this, I had gang stalkers, including my father, who was an Air Force pilot in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to stop me from doing it. We had a 3-foot snow dump, October 31st, biggest snowstorm ever, the day I was starting construction. Got it done December 22nd for a winter solstice gig. And it's the gods themselves didn't know if they wanted the sitar to be modernized and have the kind of power this thing has. So I just want to play a little bit. Peace, peace, there it is. Comes with the knowing, peace. All power is flowing, peace, to keep it growing. Peace. This is an invocation of peace. It performed a couple times, almost became a star. But the point of this and my CD, 7 sitars, is I built the 3 in my lap and the other 4 I restored. And this was 05. And it's 7 songs on the 7 different sitars, which go from, just built in Edina, Minnesota to one made in the late 1800s. That song I mentioned, the Storm Raga, Assisted Twister, and there's another one called Mississippi Mud.
Oh, wow. August
of 05. I'm wondering if I put these, the sitar, legendary for being able to bring rain, stop rain, light fire, whatever, put out fire. That was when Hurricane Katrina came up the Mississippi River.
That's true. That's
a week after this. So, I made like 1,000 of these and sold them at gigs and Ren fairs and stuff. But
are you all sold out of them now?
Well, soon after that was attacked by some wealthy family members, probably working for some dirty energy billionaires, who I would name David and Charles Koch, angered during the old yacht club days. Most people never heard of the St. Croix Yacht Club, but the rich men who should have been funding this stuff just tried to eliminate me for reasons that we can go into later, but this is an enclosed wind fan. Okay, the instruments I built, despite what anybody says, I have pictures of me making those, show I have the ability to go into a shop and build the designs I do. And this enclosed wind fan here, put one of these on every house and garage, run the house in the day, charge your electric car at night, would eliminate the need to burn gas and oil, just that one thing. And this centerless electric design with the coils and the cowling could make electric fan jets for airliners. And there's something I designed for, well, this is an electric drive bicycle, no chain, no sprockets, derailleur, shifters, pedals turn a generator, turns the hub motors. This is a continuing the centerless design thing. These are centerless wheels. The electric motors are in the rims. Pedals turn the generator that turns the wheels, right?
Oh, wow.
This is an electric moped that's kind of similar to that. This hydrogen oxygen piston engine. Well, you know, the giant moon rocket that exploded this week had me just shouting at my TV, because this is a space shuttle sized payload that would exhaust pure water using my HOPE, hydrogen oxygen piston engine. And this is a very sophisticated PowerPoint presentation here, but see, this would take off from the back of an aircraft.
Oh, okay.
So if something went wrong, like went wrong last week, you just fly back and land at the big runway at Kennedy. So, vastly safer, uses less than 5% the fuel needed to launch something straight up.
Wow.
And the fuel is split water. You can look up an inventor. I'll name drop Stan Meyer of Ohio. You can see news program about him driving a car that runs on water. It uses high-speed water splitting at a certain frequency. Rotating cylinders get by this problem with electrolysis, that the gases build up around the electrode. So he made a rotating cylinder. So we could make the fuel, the hydrogen and oxygen, out of splitting water.
Right.
At a 1/7 the rate. It theoretically can make a machine that defies the laws of physics, makes 7 times the power put into it.
Wow.
And this is something Deus ex machina, I don't know. This very large aircraft, a picture like this was released by NASA, but without the HOPE engines. This would be a spacecraft with lander. That's the lander. I'm going to go through this all really fast. We can talk about stuff later, but this would hold maybe 5 to 12 people. I would, could go to the moon within like 5 years. I'd want to skip Mars. We'd probably go there, but it's inside the asteroid belt.
Right.
So there's many, many little nickel, iron, stainless steel bullets flying around there, not safe. So this is designed to go out to the outer planets like Saturn, ski on the ice moons above the rings of Saturn with something like that. And there's more detailed things about what's inside. It's a rocket motor. This is my business plan, was called by a major person in the music business, greatest plan they'd ever seen, chancetranceiandance.com.
Wow.
I'm gonna make the money to do all that with a global webcast of my music. Start out with some simple chants and songs and then the sitar music, build into a big dance party, broadcast to the world.
Right.
At $1 a show, based kind of on the Prairie Home Companion, which was extremely successful, one of the last of the great radio programs. And
let me ask you a question about those spaceships. Is it something that you have a patent on right now or not?
The purpose of this is to put it into the public domain because it was all stopped. I mean, a lot of this was my study, beginning with my father, the Air Force pilot, had these manuals on aircraft. And so from a young age, I started working at his drafting table for his business. Like at 8, 9 years old, I independently invented the rocket motor. It carried oxygen with it that would run in space. So I've been working on these for 50 years and stopped at every turn from, I could give examples of things like, well, this is a book from runway to orbit by two NASA engineers who worked on the X-15, lifting bodies, all the Air Force projects, but they, after 380 pages, say that launching these rockets off of other aircraft is the way to go. Much
Mhm.
safer, much lower cost, much less fuel use. So, my work's backed up by top NASA engineers who worked on these rocket planes.
Right.
But they did more back in the 50s and 60s than I've been able to do since the last 20 years.
So did you go to school for all this, or is this is something that you hashed
Well,
on your own?
there's other things. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree studying
Right.
theater. A lot of the classes I couldn't get at the University of Minnesota. I ended up taking a year of chemistry with this great professor, Ned Overend.
Mm,
We I didn't get any credit for this, but he called me to his office one day to ask me about this quantum mechanics idea of mine that I couldn't find in the textbooks. Without we at that meeting we invented molecular chromatography
hmm,
using a new 3M holographic technology to make 3D enlarged images of molecules.
right.
He had like the second color TV screen, color computer monitor I'd ever seen in an alcove behind a curtain. And as I'm left his office, saying, most of all, I want to help you write this up. However, I want to be involved. But a young man went in his office and said, you must not work with that boy. He's a very bad, bad boy. And I never talked to Professor Ned Overend again. And the Air Force, okay, backing up a little bit, when I graduated high school with very high SAT scores, I got a letter of commendation here from SAT because I was at the very top technical scores, verified genius technically. I'm also very emotional, we're not supposed to be. um, the only college offer I got was a letter from our senator, and you have to be nominated by your senator to go to the Air Force Academy, saying, we
Right.
want you to go to the Air Force Academy. We've seen your test scores. You're our young rocket scientist. But because of some major factors, when I called them about it, the Vietnam War had ended a year earlier.
Hmm.
Richard Nixon was crashing my father's Republican Party and nearly only tried to seize power one night. And they canceled the Apollo moon program. So I told this guy, I don't want to do it. I've changed my mind. He says, this is an order, not an offer. You have to do this or it will destroy your life.
Oh, wow.
People came in to the chemistry labs at the U of M. They came into classes. They came into the dean of chemistry's office to tell him to not work with me. Freshmen at the U of M don't win the Nobel Prize. But if you're wondering what this is, I've been using this light flasher, a camera flash, a xenon flash since '82. When I
Okay.
get a sore throat, well, I first did it at a Halloween party. I put this flash in my head. I got one right over there. I might try it, but do it in a dark room. You see the person's head light up from inside.
Oh, wow.
I noticed my sore throat was gone. So all through my life, all through COVID, you could make a camera flash thing like this. You put it in the mouth, flash it twice, and the throat infection is gone. A cure for the common cold. In 1972, my uncle Clayton built the first mobile electronic computers for control data and the military, the
Mm.
end of World War II.
So
And
you're saying that you come from the descendants of building computers?
he was a genius. Yeah, he never worked the whole rest of his life. He got a couple $1 million in stock for his idea, which was like a chain drive hard drive, had a 64-bit capacity. But this was all secret. We didn't really know till after he died how much money he had and why he had it. Because, well, in 72, 73, I show him a drawing just like this of a home computer, personal computer, a desktop, 10 years before like the guys at Apple started selling kits out of
Right.
their garage. If we'd taken this to the big companies, there was Univac, Control Data, Cray Computers. Minneapolis was the real center of computing, and
Right.
most of it was military driven because a computer like this would be like $20 million back in the 70s. Now I got this one for 200, but this, if he ran out of the room saying, "What would people use them for?" And I said, "Well, we play another game of Pong here. We can see if we can come up with a better video game." They had an early version of Pong that I hooked up to the TV set, and
Yeah, I had one of them when I was growing up.
this is well, real briefly, getting the original thing was I grew up boating in this yacht club, and we weren't, I had to do a lot of the work on everything. But this outboard motor that could be supercharged up over 2,000 horsepower, smashed the world speed record. You put hydrogen and oxygen in there under pressure, they burn into water. Okay, pretty basic stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Just yesterday saw that a company has put out a car, a big European company, I forget what it's called now, but said to exhaust pure water. It's like a spaceship kind of car.
Oh,
Another
yeah,
invention,
I saw that. I saw that. That's pretty interesting that hydrogen, they're doing that right.
Alpine, I think, but great light show in the car. A recent invention is just a tablet with a microphone. It's not a phone, it doesn't record, but it shows the sound spectrum, like in different colors, shows, stereo volume graph, computer word recognition goes across the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
People who are completely deaf, like a lot of old electric guitar players like me got hearing loss, but somebody who couldn't hear at all would be able to watch the music. Or like you could hook this to your phone, and when somebody called, you could learn, instead of reading lips, you could tell, like, is it high frequency like a woman or low frequency like a man? Do you recognize that? Jumping ahead a little, research has shown with blind people using, it's kind of like a textured TV screen.
Mm-hmm.
They can learn to see through this other sense of feel. So people would learn to hear through their eyes with one of these.
Now, have you seen any interviews with Elon Musk where he's talking about that? He's
Well,
talking about like it's like a microchip that goes, you can put it inside your brain. It can help people have Alzheimer's disease and all that other stuff. So
there's supposed to be an X Prize would get his attention, an X Prize for a zero emission supersonic airplane.
wow.
This is a electric airplane based kind of on actually German aerodynamic research. But you could have little mini airliners instead of hundreds of people crowding into one airliner.
Right.
They nearly fly themselves, but carries several people in a quiet electric plane.
Right.
This is one of the car designs. This is a design I sent to 3M in 05 or 06, depending on which date. Their rejection letter had 2 dates on it. The Big Deuce Coupe is a supercar that exhausts pure water.
That's really cool.
And I'll have to put these back in order later on. So that's, the biggest thing. Well, here's a land speed car to test out the rocket for the spacecraft. The design challenge was, can you design a car that would go over Mach 2? And this has a theoretical top speed of 1,500 miles per hour while exhausting pure water out of, much of this was done between 05. There's some scary warplanes in behind that, this is all stopped dead, and I get kind of choked up thinking of how much fun it would be to like race little hydrogen hydroplanes. And
The thing about it the question I have, I asked you this a while ago, do you have any patents on these things?
well, this is my kind of my revenge. Like putting this out, nobody can ever patent something that's in the public domain.
Oh,
Like
wow.
if we were going to build instruments, there would be certain features we would patent or trademark. But a patent doesn't really stop people from making something. You can just gives you the right to sue them and stop them if you have lawyers better than their corporation. But a great example is musical instruments. Like man from up here, Waukesha, Wisconsin, was a Les Paul, the great Gibson Les Paul guitar.
Right.
But he invented things like multi-track recording, on stage looping,
Mhm.
the electric solid body guitar,
Mhm.
and stories of when he went out to LA, he visited a guy named Leo Fender who liked it so much he copied another guy called Bigsby. He created a solid body guitar
Right.
just by tracing another guitar. But that was like 1950. By 54, Gibson came out with this. But we're still the number one guitar in the world, Gibson Les Paul. Designed in the early 50s.
Yeah,
And
it's one of the guitars I like to play myself.
it's a point. Well, I don't know if you can see. Oh, it's behind. There's a prototype of one I could go get, but showed a prototype to Gibson in '95 out in Berkeley, California. And
Hmm.
this guy said he's going to hire me. But well, yeah, the point of that was when people in Japan, Taiwan, China started making exact copies of this, Gibson stopped them, had injunctions that you can't make these, you can't copy us. Like the shape was trademarked,
Right.
but they kept making guitars. Now I think the trademarks have run out for some because eBay's flooded with Chinese copies of American guitars for less than 10% of what we could even make them for.
So
They have these computerized mills that can crank things out in total variety at less than 10% of what we could do it for.
So when you do this, what is your vision on how you just come up with these? Do you just have it in your mind and start putting it down on paper and drawing it out?
Oh, it's years and years of study and reading, and there is probably some genetic disposition from people would kind of laugh when I was standing next to my uncle Clayton
Hmm.
Krantz that we were so much alike, same like body movements and everything. But there's a level that those people, I was raised Lutheran, these fundamentalist religious types, they wouldn't really understand divine inspiration. If I said that I had a vision of something come in my head and then I would try to draw it, I might erase a line 10, 20 times before I get each line to fit together.
Right.
And after, might even get baked, which is pretty mild, but just to sit there awake and alert for hours, days, years. And then I had a stack of 88 pages of these drawings on my desk. A nice house in Edina. The house has been torn down. House my father built, torn down to keep me from inheriting it. I was told by an angelic bodyguard that they'd come into my house, photographed all 88 pages, and they took one. So I count them, and there's 87.
Hmm.
And I'm looking through the one they took was one across the top said privatize this, because in 76, 77, there was a big privatizing of the military thing under Bush and Cheney. I'm very proud of this. This is an electric flying boat.
Oh, wow.
I do island hopping for tourists or, storm evacuation. But see, the warplanes, something like this that can fly a mile a second. It's very light, made of carbon, exhaust pure water, can run into outer space. version of this could loop around the moon if you wanted to,
Mm.
and extremely fast. But the weapons are what the military calls SOL. I had to look that up. Speed of light. But a maser beam is actually a part of how radar works. It was developed, in the 30s, 40s. A cohesive beam of microwaves, as we learned in school. The power of, a laser is so powerful it can shoot through steel, if you do it right. But a
Right.
maser beam could cook a person's brain like an egg white in under a second.
Huh.
So
Don't want that pointed at me.
yeah, but there's some kind of, this was the ultimate warplane, meant to be defensive. This thing floating along at the edge of space could shoot down any incoming missiles. We could, announce to other countries like North Korea, don't even bother trying to send a missile towards us. We have Gordon technology. And by stopping that, by not building it, there's indications, like in Aviation Leak magazine, that they have built some of this stuff. And then some of the things people are seeing now are this cloaked technology.
Right.
And, if the US hasn't built it, I'm sure that people in China have been.
Well,
There
the
was short,
Chinese like to steal other people's ideas. I
right. So they
simply,
probably have. So
yeah.
by the US,
There's no really, there's like this chance that, it's like being so creative as you are and be able to pull this stuff out of your head is an amazing, it's amazing. I mean, Pam was telling me, like you really want to get out there, you want to get your stuff out there. And honest to God, we're the people to help you do that. I mean, if you need a website or something, we can help you out with that and all this other stuff. But, you know, it looks like you put the work into everything that you have.
well, the, they must kind of laugh at the NSA at how easy it is to wreck people online.
Hmm.
I really, a lot of singer songwriters, they get on stage and find they really don't like it. But I started out working in theater in school and with my father in community theater when I was like 7. So I love the whole idea of being on stage, stepping out of the curtains and impressing the audience. And that made them, and that made me an extra big threat to the people trying to make this all secret. Secrecy is holding our country back, holding our technology back, holding the whole world back.
Right.
But without digressing into that, you would want to look up the 1 million documents released by Edward Snowden. You heard of, he flew to Hong Kong and he was trying to get to Ecuador, and you heard about that whole thing?
No, I haven't.
You heard of Edward Snowden, though, right?
Yes, yes.
Release of 1 million documents of the top secret training manual of disruption operations.
It's a pretty interesting bunch of
Well,
stuff. I don't know if I could make it through 1 million documents, but
the easy way is Glenn Greenwald, the man he met in Hong Kong, as the whole world was watching, put out a book. It's called No Place to Hide. And it documents illegal espionage by the NSA. As a list of their super secret devices and their names, stuff they won't even let the FBI use because it would reveal their existence, is all there. Our partners in the UN Security Council that we illegally spied on is all there. But well, I've got a lot of photography. There's boxes down here with thousands of pictures. And well, without going into that, when this young man came to talk to me as I'm playing my sitar on a park bench, I said, I won't be interviewed unless you give me your name. And he pulls out an ID. It's a Hawaii driver's license. The name didn't mean anything except there was a similarity to a woman that I dated my senior year of college. Like, you're not my son, are you, boy? Or is it the other way around? But no, he said he was leaving his position with the government because he wouldn't go along with the crimes being done against me.
Right.
And I was so kind of freaked out by this. I pulled out this Nikon camera that I got and snapped a picture of him close up with the mole on his neck and three of him running away. And it was so unusual. It was near the Minneapolis airport, I think.
Mm.
But he must have my phone number. He knew where I was. He could see and hear what I was doing. He wrote the program that can turn on a person's phone camera without any light coming on the phone.
Did you see that article they had not long ago where these two reporters, what they did is they took a cell phone, they took the battery out of the cell phone and the SIM card, and then they took took the shut the phone down, powered it down no matter what. And they went on this trip around the city. And when they did that, they got back, they turned everything on, and the phone still tracked every part of where they go.
Yeah.
So and that's like really scary. And then my phone, as a matter of fact, my phone, when I shut the power off, it tells me a message. It says we can still track this phone with power off.
Yeah.
And I went, and I can take the battery out. I can do that. So I believe it when, people say, well, the government is watching you no matter what, and you being on here and putting your stuff out there, that's actually courageous of you to be able to do that, because you have a lot of knowledge to share with the world.
Well, when the headlines came out that Edward Snowden was this person of interest,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized he was the guy who just came to talk to me. He couldn't get a flight like from Hawaii to Hong Kong. They wouldn't have allowed that. So he said he was coming up to Minnesota to go to the Mayo Clinic, which is like 100 miles south of the Twin Cities. But
Right.
he instead caught this flight to Hong Kong. And I'm on the phone telling my one friend that, there's private like business and diplomatic terminals at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed there's an oil conference in Russia. And if he's trying to get to Ecuador, the president of Ecuador is there in his private airliner. So he could like walk out to that and get on. And the listening to my phone, they actually closed when the president of Ecuador took off. They closed airspace over Europe. They illegally forced him to land. They chose Geneva, landed there, entered the plane illegally and searched it, and found Edward Snowden wasn't on it.
Wow.
But then things like our phone, internet, and TV went out. This is copies of the book. This is our phone, internet, and TV went out for 8 or 9 days with Verizon lying to us over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only FISA secret court order ever seen by the public is to Verizon the week our phones went out for 8 or 9 days.
Oh,
Apparently
wow.
it got the attention of Ariana Huffington, who then kind of disappeared. This is Disruption's Operation Playbook. The type's pretty small. I don't know. But, they'll infiltrate companies, businesses, the whole gang stalking, dissimulation, hide the real, simulation, show the false. Disruption operations based on, as this slide says, the 4 Ds: deny, disrupt, degrade, deceive. They deny service even, or deny anything happened.
Right.
And Russia didn't want Edward Snowden there because, why risk nuclear detente for just one guy? But then they realized he had this destructive disruption operation program,
Right.
developed at probably billions of dollars. And they used it in the 2016 elections to disrupt our elections. They said they didn't really care who won. They were just using campaigns of lies, degradation, deceiving to win, or just to disrupt everything.
So we all know that the government can do all that stuff. They disrupt a lot of people.
Having proof you can show in court, that matters. Okay, but go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, 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 and you're fine. I mean, it's just, I'm just completely just blown away because, I'm not really big on conspiracy theories that big, but what I
It's
find out
unpopular.
it is, and the thing about it is it's kind of like, I have a friend who's a Bigfoot enthusiast. He goes out and he searches for Bigfoot, and then I say, "Well," he goes and then one of his biggest comebacks is he goes, just years ago, we just found out about the gorilla," and he gives me a age, when we discovered the gorilla, and I said, "Okay, but all these people who see Bigfoots, one, they never ever get a chance to snap a real good picture on it."
Eh,
Um,
well,
huh?
okay. There's news on that front.
Oh yeah. And
Well,
so, hold on. So he goes, all right. So I say to him, well, here it is with today's technology, our technology, we can literally scan a whole forest and we can find when we scan the technology is so strong right now that they can pick up like a mouse on the ground, and heat,
mm,
just any kind of heat signature. You would think by now that they would find a Bigfoot. That's what they say.
well, one of the things about being retired and watching too much television is, one of these American video, I think it was actually on the news in a couple of places, but these people in Idaho were just in their driveway, like loading their SUV, and
Right.
you look up and they see a like 8 foot tall, hairy Bigfoot on the hill above where they are. They're kind of in a housing development on the edge of the wilderness, and they get a video of it. You can see the thing clearly in the video, and two people got video of it. And then they hike up there with actual researchers and find actual footprints
Oh, wow.
of the Bigfoot. Okay, so they have multiple witnesses, well-known people at their home with even kids around, and video evidence and physical evidence.
Right, right. So,
So,
again, it's like one of those things where if you don't see it, you kind of like, if you don't see it for yourself, it's kind of hard to believe. But I tell my friend, because you are my friend, I believe what you believe to have seen. I go, there's no reason why you would make it up. And that's my view on it. I mean, when I hear
the
other
thing
guys,
is, one reason they would make things up is just the people in power
right?
want to hold on to their power, and keeping people ignorant is the best way to do that.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
believe
also
you're
kind of
right.
destructive if people become so ignorant they think it's cool to get assault rifles and go shoot up elementary schools. I don't know. That's we don't really want to go down that, but
Yeah,
there's a
we won't.
theory about Bigfoots that they're interdimensional beings.
Hmm.
Maybe they're traveling through time portals, and the dimensional portals are actually, they're called densities. There's 7 densities of existence. You know, first density is like mineral life, crystals. Second density is animal life. And third density is conscious life, like people who have identities and souls, or, elephants
Right,
communicate, have large brains. Whales have brains up to 200 pounds. But fourth density is disembodied life, angels, spirits, fairies. And fifth density would be like totally spiritual, not in a body. This is a picture of one of the white spheres. I have dozens of pictures, several videos of the white spheres going over. They're thought to be kind of a spirit being.
hmm,
But my latest theory about this is, the men in power, they created monotheism as a way to have absolute power.
right.
Basic scientific principles. If there's one powerful creative being above Earth humans, there's going to be more of them, more
Mhm.
than one. But the principle of manifest destiny, where they can go to another continent and claim it as theirs in name of their god.
Right.
You know, that's not right. Or people waking up to how wrong that is, or the whole colonial era, how destructive that was. They could have just traded with those people, and coexisted. Didn't have to genocidally kill like 20 million natives of North America, is the number now. But see, having done all that to gain power based on a system of one absolutely powerful God, they don't want to admit that there's a whole pantheon or an infinite number of beings
Right.
above Earth humans as there are below.
Mhm.
Even if a Bigfoot does, they're not really verbal, but if they had the power to travel through time and density portals,
I
it
have
would,
a guy that you
it's,
need to talk to then. Yeah, I
it's
could
mighty
put
deep, I know.
I could put you both on the air, and I would probably not get one word in through the whole interview. So, getting back to your all these things that you have come up with, what is it that drives you? What is it that really drives you? What is it?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. You ever seen the movie Moulin Rouge?
I have.
The penniless sitar player who can only tell the truth,
Right.
devoted to love, art, beauty,
Hmm.
romance. They do a whole song number about that.
Right.
It's really what a poet wants most is truth. Like, as a poet, what would be the ultimate thing to capture in words?
Hmm.
Truth, right?
Yes, sir.
And also, even in comedy, the people, it's funny because it's true. People get it because they have experienced something like that themselves. Or, well, my theories on acting in my book, By Any and All Means Necessary, talks about an actor's job is to give people an experience, give them an emotional experience,
Right. There you
something
go.
beautiful and romantic, but little or no chance of actually having contact with the people doing it. This is an ancient thing. I mean, before television, movies, radio, for over 2 million years, people gathered in the center of the village to hear a storyteller or to drum and dance, or, a comedian, then a stripper, then drumming and more drumming and dancing. But, this is entertainment, was people doing it themselves
All right.
for since the beginning of time.
Well,
And
I think a lot when there's so many there in my opinion there are so many like it's I don't know if Pam told you this, but I got COVID and I almost died from it. And during the time when I was in the hospital, I spent 140 days in the hospital, and I spent 108 weeks of that 140 days in a coma. And
really, that's
yeah,
bad.
and I told her, I said, I honestly believe I seen the other side. I seen a different dimension. I was in a different dimension or paired, I don't know whatever you call it.
I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's it was amazing to me because I can remember everything about that whole entire time. And people say, "Well, you're just dreaming." I go, "When does a dream last 8 weeks?" But in my
Mhm.
dream, it was months and months that I was doing stuff. It was like almost playing in fast forward, but not. It was in real time, but it was going that way. So the
Mhm.
universe and everything, us living in the universe and how the universe revolves around us, there's so many unknowns. And I can't wait. I really can't wait to hear when we do another show, we can talk about that. But you're talking about these different dimensions and stuff. There's different, multiverses, and I don't know where you are on that, but it's just
I
amazing, you know.
feel like Professor Einstein said that, well, it's certainly nothing easy about figuring out things like relativity or quantum mechanics. It's even harder to find words to explain it to somebody who doesn't know anything about it.
Right, right. And that's true.
Strong pacifist, and and he had an even smarter wife. But there's, inspired by people like that. I could name a lot of names of people who inspired me.
Mhm.
You talk about what drives a person is to help. What makes the human race work is working together. We're not the fastest or the strongest, we don't have the biggest teeth, We can't survive for the first couple of years of life like your average horse can stand up in a few minutes and walk away. But
We can
we
only
survive
wish.
by working together and
Hmm.
also working with animals. Dogs allowed us to sleep long enough to develop the big brain. Cats kept rodents away from our food supply and our seeds we need for the next year's planting.
Hmm.
Livestock, it's working. And when you have livestock and you're pretty anchored to your land, as a
Right.
farmer. We've lost a lot of that with farming becoming industrialized and mechanized. And, you know,
Well,
we're, I really am connected to the past in a major way, but I'm looking towards a future
very well.
optimistically, but also feel I was made a prophet. I was trained as a prophet. I was given visions of the future. Like I'd wake up in the middle of the night in bed when I was a teenager and I'd be in some situation
Oh wow.
and it would fade away and I'd be in my room. It was pretty freaky. But
I've-
like 3 days later, I'd be in that situation. I being shown that I could see ahead through time. And like the life, I see it as this tapestry, the life force fibers of every being and planet are woven into this tapestry. And as time burns through it, it sets those fibers in a place.
Okay, that makes
In
a
the
lot of sense.
future, the fibers in the intersection are still variable and can be changed. But we can see where the fibers intersect and what's coming, like large nuclear release that could end all life on Earth
Yeah, we
as
don't
part
want
of the
that.
prophecy. So, driven to save the planet. However,
Let me.
Yanu, Anu, the Anunnaki, you've heard of them, the creators
Right.
of Earth humans to serve them and only them. I saw in a documentary, the word worship comes from the same word as work for. So you're supposed to work for mining gold, them and only them. But like his Yanu's granddaughter, Yanu, who we now call Jehovah,
Right.
his granddaughter Inanna, goddess Queen Inanna, one of my mentors, hail Inanna. But she wants to give this divine inspired technology to the world free for the use of everyone equally. Peaceful cooperation for the benefit of all equally could probably make my father's head explode,
Right.
these
Let me
rich
ask you
guys
a
who want
question.
absolute power.
Let me
So
ask
they
you a question. No, hold on. Okay, go ahead. I'm
when
sorry.
he finished that, he may be like in the days of the great flood when he said he's sorry he made them and he
Right.
wants to destroy them. The
Right.
word I'm getting from God, Ianu, is he's sorry he's made the human race. He knew they'd go out of control. To save the planet Earth would use a large nuclear radiation release and a small war to end 7 billion lives so that the planet Earth can evolve again into a natural state.
Right.
Still people, but living naturally, like in harmony with nature.
Yeah. The question I have, what is your opinion about multiverse? And let me further push your brain here. So, uh, of course, the Bible. It says in the Bible, in the first sentence of the Bible, God created the heavens and the earth, and it's the heavens is plural. And what it made me think of is okay, so when our spirits are done here, our energy is done here. You always hear people life after death. They say they see a tunnel, and that tunnel, people are their family and stuff are waiting for them on the other side out of this tunnel. And then just recently, when the James Webb Telescope has now been functional, they're noticing now that there's not millions of different galaxies, but there's billions of galaxies. The question I have for you, do you believe in a multiverse and uh, the fact that when we leave this planet, we go to a different life?
Well, I'd want to stop you at the word believe there.
Okay.
I feel there's no shortage of known facts to
Mhm.
base your life on. I want to know what was called gnosis, Gnosticism.
All
We
right.
may have gone down the wrong path in certain ways, but the knowing is described as a fullness. Divine beings want us to know. I mean, I get a laugh with the line. At the center of the word believe is the word lie.
Oh, okay.
So if somebody wants to lie to you, like a certain former president used to say, believe me a lot, until I made comments that the person who's really telling the truth doesn't have to say, believe me, because he delivers the goods.
Hmm.
He's pretty much stopped saying that. I think Donald is taking advice from me, but I don't want to get into that because it makes a lot of enemies criticizing our
Oh, we don't worry
political
about that
party.
around here.
But he is,
Listen, we criticize everybody on this channel, so
well, there's, so getting back to through my research, reading some rare books, some that were just like typed manuscripts in folders,
right.
have been Xerox to Kinko's kind of thing, which don't knock them. I think that joke kind of put Kinko's out of business, actually. But the the sun god Ra channeled material through people where they had to be on a table aligned at exactly 11 degrees north. And they had to run 3 tape recorders at once because the tape decks would fail in weird ways over and over.
Mm.
But the highest channeled material I could find talked about the 7 densities, the 7 levels of existence, like
Hmm.
the 7 chakras, 7 musical notes, 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 atomic, 7 electron orbital fields. There's levels in a kind of a recurring harmonic system of the octave through everything. And he says that thing about how first density life is just like the ground of everything. Second density is animal life. Third is conscious. Fourth is conscious angelic spirit beings or demons that can take possession of earth human bodies. And then the fifth would be immortal godlike beings. They say sixth and seventh density existence. We don't hardly have words for that, but I see them as like a planetary being would be sixth density, or
Right.
a stellar being would be seventh density. Like says, I think he says in there somewhere, as a stellar being with a lifespan of like 40 billion years, takes a lot of commitment to incarnate as a star. Everybody wants to be a star, but you're going to burn for 30, 40 million years and then grow really big and explode in a
Right.
supernova. So it's a rough life. And but I see those as like a single celled organism, the sun, you know, like the earth acts like one big organism herself.
Right.
God, it's called. And of course, trying to explain this to my Baptist cousin Jotham, they just run out of the room. They can't stand talk of, they're totally sold on this monotheism, one God or maybe three. And I just read a book about the invention of Christianity where they combined, like, Paul, who working in Rome with Greek scholars, wrote this New Testament gospel story, but it's based more on the ancient mystery school where the man would take on the divine being himself, which is found all around the world. They put on a mask and become that character. But then the sacrificial man would take on the sins of everybody there
Mm.
and then be sacrificed, sometimes real in human sacrifice, sometimes just symbolically. And yes, drugs were involved. But,
Mm. There's always a catch.
combining that, the Greek mystery schools with Gnosticism, and then tacking on the Old Testament and ancient Jewish writings to
Right.
give it depth and power. They created a new religion for the Holy Roman Empire. They didn't, Christianize the Romans. They made a Roman form of religion called Christianity.
Oh, wow.
And, this led to things like the Holocaust, the killing of millions, 6 million Jews, 2 million gypsies. If the Germans had been sensible and worked with the wise old Jewish people as part of their plan, worked with the gypsies like their covert operatives, promised them all places to live, made them part of this great vision.
Right.
And, it was the genocide that really caused the England and the US to mobilize to invade. I saw a documentary recently, USA and the Holocaust, saying that it really made it clear the moment Germany lost the wars, they had all of Western Europe from Norway and the Arctic Circle down to Spain, North Africa under control. And
Right.
then they invaded Russia. Stalin didn't care about genocide and the killings of millions. He would have joined in. So that's when they really lost the war, was instead of aligning with Russia, they invaded them, overstretched themselves, really couldn't win after that point. But my father was one of the people who flew in to Germany. He landed the first Allied plane, a C-47 in Berlin during the ceasefire just before the end of the war, the intelligence people looking for Hitler. And pictures of that have disappeared mysteriously. But there's my father's Air Force hat,
Oh, wow.
Captain Anderson. And well, I come from a lineage of people who did some great things, but were quite humble about it and
Right.
lived quiet lives. And I thought, I can do that. I can go out there, perform, do great things, and then lead a simple life, like on my boat or something. And it's just all stopped. And a lot of it was by what we're all suffering from. Finish up an earlier thought, the disruptions operations are now being used in politics. These people who are just shouting lies, shouting conspiracy theories, confusing and disrupting the whole process.
Amen.
The rule in debate that what you say must be provable as fact. Ipso facto is an abbreviation for is proven so, so this fact is so. Or if proven, then this fact is so. But this kind of gets us back with the World War II thing. There's a book you can find in the library, IBM and the Holocaust. And my uncle Clayton, the maker of the first computers used in the Apollo moon lander that we knew about, and the SR-71 Blackbird that we didn't know about, but I've seen in museums,
Mm-hmm.
he had one of these punch cards on the cover of that book. An IBM punch card with the Nazi crest on it was on his dresser. And so when he yelled, what would people use their own computers for? I mean, he knew that IBM leased punch card sorting computers and teletypes to the Third Reich.
Right.
A small number of people were able to sort the populations of 14 countries and then print out lists remotely of who was to be rounded up and taken to the death camps. So my uncle explained that to me. You have to become a hater, basically a Nazi like us, for us to back your work. Otherwise, we're going to kill you. And I said, okay, you can try. It's only fair to warn you.
Oh,
It'd be fair to warn you. It's like suicide to try and kill a person like me. Because
well,
that gets to,
it sounds like when you talk like this, it's kind of interesting. Well, no, it's not kind of. It is interesting.
well,
To
that's
say that.
one thing is that the reason they've stopped so much of what I do, like my mother, Shirley Anderson, Clayton's sister,
Mm-hmm.
disappeared completely in December of 2013, just after I visited her in November, said, I want to come see you Christmas Eve, but I'm homeless, I have no money, limited government benefits. And she wrote me a check for $900, said, go get a motel room.
Hmm.
My sister heard this. She tried to stop the check. She immediately knew. And then I came down for Christmas Eve and my mother wasn't there. I lost this 120-year-old sitar and got frostbite on all 10 fingers and thumbs, being out in the cold. Record snowfall that year. So this gets me to, why am I still alive? The 12 gifts of the Holy Spirit. This is a little older. This is 2013. The first one is telepathy and empathy. People freak out about that. A woman approached me like in a Goodwill store, said, you hear voices telling you what to do? And I'm like, no, but I have telepathic power. And anyway, they come at me at garage sales. They just, two is creating inspired works of art, music, writing, inventions, etc. Three, teaching and transmission of enlightenment. Like a lot of people have said they couldn't do like the Tibetan overtone chanting until they went to an event with the Tibetan overtone chanters.
Right.
I know the guy, Jonathan Goldman, who brought them here, the first person to bring that to the West. He doesn't like me, but 4, healing directly with divine light and divine sound. The medical establishment isn't real happy about that. Knowledge of healing powers in plants and other things, like crystals. Perfection of your own, the lighting's perfection of your own body, mind, and soul, along with emotional health and maturity.
Right.
Emotional wealth, I call it. Mental wealth. 7, a big jump there. Resurrection, transcending physical reality, bringing others back from the dead. But I claim to have been killed 8 times. It's my 9th life, and I don't plan to return again. See the movie Puss in Boots for more on that. Number 8, being free of fear, freedom from fear, knowing that your immortal soul is more important than your body. And, escaping from danger with divine assistance. Like I've had spacecraft, the angry red tube-shaped craft twice appeared over Duluth to chase away the men who were waiting to attack me as I was walking along. And we could do a whole article on that. I have like 20 UFO sightings and encounters. And I see them now as spiritual beings coming to help us, some of them, but there's as many different kinds of aliens as there are types of life on Earth.
Right.
And 9, communicating with beings on the other levels of reality. 10, seeing through space to other places. 11, seeing through time to bring warnings of problems before they become disasters. Very helpful, but nobody seems to listen.
No.
And then, well, I don't think they should be living into 12, but the 12th one is mystery after mystery. Enjoying having that challenge of something to figure out, which people really like. And it's good for your mind, from doing math problems to, the most popular shows on TV are about figuring out crimes and how to bring murderers to justice.
You
Love that puzzle, real life puzzle to figure out.
right. You have a lot of knowledge. I mean, it's incredible. And I really, in closing for this show today, I've really learned a lot, and I'd like to learn a whole lot more. I'm just hoping that you actually can come back and do another show with me.
I got my Sundays afternoons open for the rest of eternity. So,
Okay,
or
that's
if you
good.
want to do it
That would be a
once a
good
week
time.
would be good, or whenever. Contact me when you want to do this again, and we'll go into. Well, I've shown you so much stuff already.
Well, that's okay. That's okay.
I'll leave you on a warning note.
Okay.
That, this is the beneficial effects of CBD and THC. So I'd like to talk more about that because I have cancer. I had a dime-sized spot of cancer removed from my nose. So I did a lot of skiing, boating, outdoor stuff, like UV exposure. But I bet my life on cannabis curing cancer. And I think I was doing too much for a while, but I've driven to the UP a few times.
Right.
It's supposed to have been legalized in Minnesota, but it's been stuck in the legislature. But
Yeah.
I have a Saturday Evening Post magazine, the Post magazine from 1963, December, with a portrait of President Kennedy on the cover. And this is a blow up of a picture, the limousine, the moment the first bullet hits President Kennedy. Standing in the doorway, confirmed by Color Movie Theater from the other angle, the doorway of the school book depository, Lee Harvey Oswald is standing next to Jack Ruby in the doorway. Secret
Wow.
Service men looking straight at him. We know the CIA set this up. The FBI was in charge of the cover up. Vice President Johnson had just been informed that he was going to be investigated by Congress for something like 13 mysterious deaths in his rise to power. And he had nothing to lose. he was going to get caught. And by pulling this off, keeping it secret, they took away our democracy, basically a secret coup in 63. And the same gang that did this and got away with it, or probably like their grandchildren, are the ones now coming after me to
Hmm.
stop. Because some researcher wrote 45, I think it's 60 people have been found dead, like in their own home, related to this case, including the man who took this picture, who can be seen in this other picture. Okay. Well, I'm just giving you an idea of what I'd like to talk about next.
All right, that'd be awesome.
So, this man, Ike Altkins, and his wife, when I contacted him online, contacting him through his agent, him and his wife were found sitting in their Dallas home dead.
Hmm.
And the police were like, we don't know, maybe it was carbon monoxide or something. But really, Ike Altkins, Associated Press photographer. And when I called to track down the negative of this picture, which is black and white, high def film, something like 40,000 negatives and pictures of the Kennedy era were taken from the special vaults at AP Images at 30 Rock in New York and put in a special vault in the World Trade Center and completely destroyed.
Hmm.
Okay, that's the beginning of the next show.
All right. Okay, that'll be perfect. That'll be perfect. So, in closing, so I want to thank you for coming on the show. I really do. I really am impressed. I'm without words right now. I'm just like, you're going down the path that I love to go in. So
When the words fail you, there's always music. This is a 50s harmony, or maybe a 60s one that I restored. I got the cool tuners on there.
oh wow.
I added a little bracing to the top. So for under $200, I have a guitar that sounds like and old harmonies like the electric ones that were 200 to 320 years ago are now 2,000 to 3,000 online. So I have the money making potential, just starved of capitals.
There you go. You have it.
Signing off.
Gordon Anderson, thanks a lot for being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have him back soon. And I just want to, thank him from the bottom of my heart for taking the time out and having the show.
You
we
can look
gotta
up
make
my Facebook page. There's images of some inventions, some of my more music on YouTube. So
Yeah,
look
we'll
it
get
up.
that. We'll get that put on YouTube
Okay.
for you. We'll get all the links, and
Okay.
maybe we'll even help you get a website out there. How's that?
Well, the chancetranchanddance.com. I have the name registered
All right.
and for
Making it
5
easy
years.
for me.
I have 5 years. I think I have 2 years left to get that. Okay, thanks for
Yep. Have a good
calling.
day.
It's
And
zooming
thanks.
in.
Oh,
Signing.
bye. All right. Bye-bye.